What is Dewey Decimal Classification? The Dewey Decimal Classification System, or DDC, is a process of cataloging and organizing books in a library. Originally, the library consisted of closed stacks of books, which meant only librarians, not patrons, were able to find specific books on the shelves. This was due to the way the books were organized. At that time, books were placed on the shelf by purchase date. If a book about cooking was purchased on January 13th, and then a book about plants was purchased on January 14th, these books would be placed together, one right after another. This system of organization did not give any independence to the patrons because the system only allowed the librarians to know the location of a book in a library. Melville Dewey, an American librarian, wanted a better way for books to be organized. He created his method in 1876 for cataloging books. His system kept the books organized by dividing all knowledge into 10 classes of world topics. Each of those classes were divided into 10 divisions, and those divisions were divided into 10 sections. We will go over this in detail later in our presentation. By organizing the books this way, Dewey essentially gave the books an address with numbers so that patrons or librarians can easily find books by going to that location in the library. His system is still used today in many libraries worldwide.
Why is the DDC important? The Dewey Decimal Classification System is important because it is how many libraries, including school libraries, organize their books. Library users must be familiar with this classification system in order to find a book on the shelf. Over 130 countries use the DDC, and it is translated into over 30 languages, including Arabic, German, and Vietnamese. As you can see in this diagram, the DDC is referenced by and intersects with numerous other knowledge organization systems, such as the Library of Congress subject headings, medical subject headings, MESH, Sears, and BISAC, the Book Industry Standards and Communications subject headings. The DDC is considered the backbone to many of these systems, some of which will be covered in other group projects in this class.
What important information should all librarians know? Librarians must understand that books that are cataloged in the DDC are done so first by main class. The main class is represented by the digit in the hundreds place of the class number. The digit in the tens place of the class number is the division within the main class. The third digit in the ones place represents the section. Here is an example of exactly how the DDC breaks things down. So if you go to the 500s, that is the main class for science, all topics related to science. Within that science class, if you are looking for animals, you're going to go to the 590s. The 590s is a division of science. It's the animal division of the science class. To break it down even further, once you're in that animal division, you can break it into sections. So one section of the animal division, 597, that's going to include all of your cold-blooded vertebrates, fish and amphibians. Then the decimals are added to the call numbers for even more specific topics. So we've broken it down from science to animals to cold-blooded vertebrates, and now to get even more specific, 597.3 is going to give us the books about bony fish. 597.7 is going to give us the books about sharks and rays. When cataloging books using the DDC, librarians must be as specific as possible to make sure all books are labeled and shelved correctly. What did you find interesting, and how will you use this knowledge in your practice? Because the DDC was created so long ago and was based on Dewey's biases, I wondered if there were alternatives to the DDC. I found quite a few different classification methods being used in libraries and by book retailers. The Library of Congress uses its method based on the class and subclass of titles. This works really well for academic works, but not so much for fiction books. Some other methods that are being used for classification are BISAC, Book Industry Standards and Communications. It's used by bookstores to shelve titles based on keywords. Another method of organization is the Universal Decimal Classification, the UDC, and that incorporates new ideas not found in the DDC. And finally, Metis, and that was designed for school libraries, and it still contains the call numbers for adults looking for books, but it adds images to references for children to make it easier for them. I'm an elementary school librarian. My 5 and 6 year old students love to check out animal nonfiction books, but they're not able to look those up on the computer. They're not able to find the call number on their own. I'm going to use the knowledge of the DDC to explain the whole process to my students in order to help them locate a book, especially those fourth and fifth grade students. But in addition to that, I'm going to take on some of the thoughts of the Metis organization program to use labels with pictures on books and within sections and above shelves to help my younger students locate the books that they want to read independently.
There is research to suggest that organizing books by genre rather than by the DDC can be especially beneficial for young readers. In the early grades, students often struggle to categorize topics across multiple subject areas, so having a straightforward, genre based system in their library helps them to easily access books. As our young readers mature, their ability to navigate more complex classification system improves, and they are better equipped to understand the DDC and its significance to how a library is organized. In the elementary school library setting, I will take a hybrid approach to the Dewey system. This strategy will enable both my older and younger readers to independently find books when they come to the library. For my older kids, they have been taught how to navigate the DDC and have shelves of nonfiction books to utilize. It is important for them to understand this system as they will most likely see it as they progress in their education. But I also genreify popular nonfiction subjects for the young readers. I have labeled bins, and the kids can quickly go to, browse, and then choose books on their own. By implementing a hybrid system, all students in my school can be confident and independent in finding books that they want to explore.
It is fascinating to consider, in the words of one editor in chief of the DDC, that the DDC is a living and breathing organism. It has been continually evolving since its creation. DDC team members at OCLC invites library users to send in proposals suggesting areas of the DDC that need to be improved. The team aims to refine the DDC to make it as relevant a resource as possible for the public. In the high school setting, to help students better navigate the DDC, I can increase the use of various written signage for wayfinding, such as this signage that illustrates the 10 main Dewey classes. Signage for Dewey subdivisions and sections would be helpful as well. Here is an example of the subdivisions for arts and recreation, the 700s. As you can see, architecture is one of the subdivisions, and here are the specific sections within architecture. I can also create written signage utilizing the Dewey Relative Index to illustrate how a subject can be found in various contexts or disciplines, like this example here. Garlic in the context of food and cooking can be found in the 640s, whereas garlic in the context of medicine can be found in the 610s. And to learn more about garlic as a plant, books can be found in the 580s. It is helpful to note that it is named the Dewey Relative Index because it shows how a subject like garlic relates to a discipline like pharmacology. By increasing the types of written signage, high school students will have additional ways to decode the numbers of the DDC. Here are some helpful resources that we consulted in our research about the DDC.